I-911A group. So the class doesn't officially start until next week, but I wanted to go ahead and provide a video overview of the information that you guys are going to be doing for the first week of class, since I know many of you are overachievers and like to already start to work ahead, so you'll have this information when you are ready for it. Also, you will be receiving an email from me later today that's going to ask about your availability. Because as we move throughout this course, I'm going to be offering optional weekly class conferences for you to come, for you to ask questions, for us to discuss any topics that are helpful for you from week to week. In addition, as I mentioned in the welcome video, I am available to set up individual conferences. As you know, for this course, you're going to be writing chapters 1 and 2 of the dissertation. And so as it's helpful for the two of us to talk about moving that dissertation forward, writing chapters 1 and 2, as you have specific questions or concerns about your topic, please know that I am here, I am available, I am more than happy to help you. And so reach out as I'm able to do so, because something that we're already going to be talking about and thinking about the first week is that everyone is going to have their own unique challenges as you're writing the dissertation and as you're writing chapters 1 and 2. And so that may be something that will be helpful for us to talk about one-on-one. Also, I'll provide information about this in the email, but Pam Greenlee is the reference librarian who is our kind of consultant for this course. And she's also more than happy to help you with your research, in finding more research and using the sources that you have. And she is our research guru. And she is also more than happy to help you, and you're able to reach out to her as you need help with finding sources. So let's go ahead and look at the work for this week. If you haven't had a chance to click into the course syllabus for the policies and overall information about the course, please make sure that you start with that. And then once you've done so, you can head into the work for this week. So something else to reference before you start to look at the materials and assignments for week 1 is the dissertation and practice manual. So within this home modules page, and all the information for the course for each week can be found in the modules. One of the documents that you're familiar with that you were exposed to within the 905 course is their dissertation and practice manual. And I'm assuming that you referenced this within 905, and this was still helpful, useful information. But especially now, as you are going to be working on the dissertation, this manual is going to be immediately practical and useful. And so look through all of this information, but I especially want to draw your attention to the information on what you will include in chapters 1 and 2 of your dissertation, because those are the chapters that you're going to be writing for this course. And you'll continue to come back to this, but the reason that I'm mentioning it even now is because one of the assignments you're going to be doing for week 1 is going to be reading other dissertations. And so as you are reading those other dissertations, even though, yes, there is, there's criteria, there's guidelines, there's recommendations, there's sections that will have to be present as a part of your dissertation, you will notice that there are still uniquenesses among dissertations, that there's still, some tone and flavor, while we want them to be objective, and you want to make sure that you are using academic language and APA style and tone and formatting. It's also still your dissertation. And so you're going to notice that within these sections, and you may even find some dissertations that don't have all of these sections or have some differences within these sections, which is fine. But I want you to start to think about the genre of a dissertation, and as much as you're going to also be reading the content for each of these dissertations and choosing dissertations within your content and your area topic interest, I also want you to be studying the genre of a dissertation. So how does one write a dissertation? What kind of content is included? What are some differences among the dissertations that you're going to be looking at? And so I would recommend that as you are reading through the other dissertations, that you are also referencing the requirements for a dissertation in Olivet's EDD program. And so look over this. compare it and kind of contrast it with what you're finding in other dissertations that you're reading for both chapters 1 and for chapters 2. So that's where you can find that document. And again, I would recommend that you look at that this week, even as you are going to be reading dissertations. So for the work for this week, you will see that there is a class introduction forum. Some of you know each other and got to know each other's topics a little bit in the 905 course, but we do have some students who were not originally in our 905. They took a different 905 course. And so, take time with this and sharing information about yourself and your topic, because you guys are going to be having peer review groups. You guys are going to be giving each other feedback. And so it's important that you get to know one another. And it's wonderful with a cohort model that you are able to be supportive and helpful for one another, and so that you genuinely get to know and interact with one another. Another discussion forum that you guys are going to be doing this week is going to ask you to reflect on some of your perceived kind of strengths and weaknesses just going into the dissertation process. As you know, writing a dissertation is a marathon. It is not a sprint, and you will have unique hurdles to each of you given your strengths and weaknesses, your personalities, your learning styles. And so some of those will be shared just when it comes to writing a dissertation, but some of those will also be unique to you and just the way that you approach learning and writing and so on and so forth. And so part of that process, a healthy part of that process, is just reflecting on and being aware of what some of your obstacles and weaknesses might be, because then that will help you to reflect on how you can overcome them and ways that you can still be productive and successful. So you guys are going to be reflecting on that. The third assignment that you're going to be doing for the third week is writing an annotated bibliography of some of the dissertations that you're going to be reading. So I should mention before I talk more about what that's going to look like, is for each week, this is something that's familiar with you, that you want to make sure that you're always looking at the materials first. So chapters 1 through 4, you guys are going to be reading. The chapters are pretty short and pretty accessible. So this shouldn't take you too long, but it's going to provide some good information just about what a dissertation looks like. So as you guys are going to be analyzing dissertations, you will want to make sure that you are reading this first so you know what to look for in addition to what I'm going to be talking to you about today. This is the video that I referenced in the welcome video where Dr. Pauls talks more about overall the content for the course. As somebody who has taught the course and worked on dissertation director with previous courses, she's going to give you more information about the big picture, so please do take a look at that video as well. And then once you've had a chance to look at that, what's going to take the most amount of work for this week is reading other dissertations. So you are going to be reading 5 to 7 other dissertations on your specific topic. And again, you are going to be considering the way that the dissertation was written as much as you are going to be considering the content of the dissertation. So for your annotations for this assignment, it's a little bit different, again, because you're going to be looking at the way that the dissertation has been crafted as well as the content for the dissertation. So some of these documents, which I'm going to reference in just a minute, especially this one, this is the document that I created for 905, so it will look very familiar to those of you who took 905 with me. This is the document that you used as you were creating your annotated bibliography for the 905 course. For week 2 of this course, you are going to continue to build your annotated bibliography. So more to come on that. But especially for those of you who did not take 905 with me, I wanted to give you this for some background information just about why we write an annotated bibliography, what that looks like. And you will notice that I've also annotated this document. So I have pointed out aspects of annotations that are important and necessary that you're going to want to make sure that you're covering within your annotated bibliography. So for those of you who did not have 905 with me, if you want me to even take a look at the annotated bibliography that you wrote for 905, I would be more than happy to do so. But as a reminder, as you guys are going to be continuing to write the annotated bibliography for this course, to go ahead and already take a look at this. Now for the annotated bibliography that you guys are writing for this week, sure, you are also going to want to focus on things like the methodology for the study. What was the purpose of the study? What was their methodology? And then how might this be useful and applicable? But within these annotations, since these are for a class assignment as opposed to your annotated bibliography for your own dissertation and review of literature, you are welcome to say within the annotations for this week what you noticed about the dissertation that was especially useful, practical, maybe things that you find that are especially interesting about the dissertation. And again, you can address aspects of the dissertation that are relevant in thinking about your own dissertation. So I liked how the dissertation organized their review of literature, or this dissertation did a really good job of defining key terms. So it's fine for this annotated bibliography, since it's a class assignment as opposed to the annotated bibliography for your dissertation. It's fine for you to notice things that you are noticing as you review the different dissertations. So a little bit more information about that. So at this point, you should be familiar with how you get to the library page. You've done a lot of research within the Benner Library, so you guys are pretty familiar with this. That said, if you do need any help, again, Pam Greenlee is able to help you, as am I. But if you haven't looked at finding dissertations specifically, you can get at that a couple of different ways. You can go to subject guides. You can also always go to A through Z resources, and here it gives you the list of all of the different databases that are available to you. And since we're going to be looking for dissertations specifically, I'm going to go in here and click on dissertations and theses. And then everything that you find in here is going to be a thesis or a dissertation. And so you will go through and you can search. Initially, some of those search terms you may have to remind yourself, go back to the annotated bibliography that you created before and remind yourself what were some of those key terms that I have been searching. And so I have plugged some in here. You'll notice that, for example, 12,000 is way too many results. And so I can narrow and I can update, and then you can also go back in. You can add more search terms if you're noticing that this is just still too general. You can look at subject, language, so on and so forth, so you can continue to narrow. The other thing that's always helpful for me is to start to click into a couple, and that always reminds me of key terms that I've been searching. You can also look at the references, and that can provide you with more research. And so everything that you find in here is going to be a dissertation or a thesis. So anything that you find in here, you can use to find your 5 to 7. So we're not going to look at all of the details for this dissertation, but I did go ahead and open one so that we can look at the way that kind of a dissertation is organized and what you are going to draw your attention to in general, and then specifically for this course, since you guys are going to be writing chapters 1 and 2. So a couple of other features, just as we are on this home page, and I said this could help you to find more dissertations. For this one, let's say I look at this one and I say, wow, this is exactly what I'm looking for. This fits really well within my topic. I can look at the references with dissertations. There are so many references, so 200 references to look through here. And of course, a lot of them are not going to be relevant. So some of them you can disregard, but already I see one if I'm looking at critical professional development. I can look through here, if I'm looking at critical race and theory and English education, I can go through and then I can click on any of these to get to those articles. Now those may not be dissertations. So just be careful with that, because you want to make sure for this assignment that you are looking at a thesis or a dissertation. Whereas these that are cited, like most of these are journal articles. So they're fine to bookmark and use as you're building your annotated bibliography for your dissertation and going to be writing your review of literature. But you're going to want to make sure that what you're looking at for the assignment for this week is an actual dissertation. So some of the features in dissertations, I see that I've got some front matter here that has a title, dissertation information. Once you guys eventually get to the end, you guys will have acknowledgments. You guys will have a table of contents. And within this table of contents, I want you to draw your attention to information like what is included in this first chapter 1. So you're going to see that there are many similarities to what you guys will eventually include in your chapter 1, but then there are some differences as well. So you will have a background, you will have a rationale and a purpose. You will have research questions. You will not have a theoretical framework. So for your dissertation, for your EDD, you do not have a theoretical framework. So that is a section that will not be included, but you guys will be having a research question and defining key terms. And so you may want to look closely, for example, at the problem statement, because you will have a problem statement within your own dissertation, so you can see the way that the person has put this together. In addition, look closely at chapter 2 and the literature review. So notice how there are sections and there are subsections. So if the person's talking about culturally relevant education, then that person is going to be defining, using previous scholars' work, what is critical race theory, what is culturally relevant pedagogy. They're defining some of their key terms. And then they're going to be getting into some of the previous research on the overall topics and subtopics within their dissertation. So for example, for my dissertation, I looked at service learning within teacher education programs to develop an awareness of literacy. And so I would have a section on service learning and teacher education programs. I would have a section on literacy and what literacy is and how literacy is defined, how literacy has been conceptualized within teaching reading courses. I would have a section on teacher education programs, and so on and so forth. So within your own topic and focus, you are going to be thinking for your review of literature, what are those subsections going to be? What are all of the background information and previous studies that have been done that have built a foundation for your own study? So you can see the way that the student has done so within his or her review of literature. And you can see their chapter 3, their methodology. So this one was a narrative inquiry, which is a qualitative study. I'd also recommend, as you guys are thinking about dissertations to look at, you're probably going to want to choose a variety of qualitative and quantitative studies as you are kind of planning for what your own methodology is going to be. We're going to explore more about a methodology once you guys get to 911B, but for this course, you are already going to be thinking within chapter 1 about, in general, what are you planning to do at this point for your methodology. So look to see, the methodology that was used, how that is discussed, how that was planned, and so on and so forth. So what are the, characteristics within each of these sections? So then once you get into each of the sections, again, you're going to want to look to see the way that the student has created each of these sections. What are the characteristics? How is research used? How is a statement of purpose introduced, and so on and so forth. Same thing within the review of literature. So within the student's review of literature, I am going to be looking at, how is research talked about? What information is included for previous studies? What sections and subsections did this student use? And so on and so forth. So again, as you guys are looking through the dissertations, yes, you're also going to be learning from the content, but then you are also going to be studying how the person put together the dissertation. So you're going to be doing both of those at once. That's all of the information that I wanted to share with you for today. If you do have questions and concerns, I know that's already a lot of information, but please don't hesitate to reach out to me, especially if you're having a hard time finding dissertations that would work well for you to explore. But that should give you some good background and some good information to start on the work for this week. Thanks so much.